Hello, thank you very much for spending a few minutes with me to learn more about our study abroad program coming up in Havana, Cuba, on historic preservation. I am Miss Anne Fontaine. I'm the executive director for Design Arts Seminars, and as you can see on the screen here, I did fall in love with Havana on that first walk I took nearly 3 years ago. It really has been in the works for 3 years. This tour has been in the works for quite a while, but that's not uncommon. We do historically spend a lot of time curating experiences that we then offer as study tours. So it does usually take us a while to go on site and carefully select the venues and the items that we include on the agenda and the people that we invite to participate. So that's not uncommon, but there is really something magical about the city. Every street corner, it's transporting you somewhere else. Simply, there are so many different cultural influences that there really is something magical about the city. Of course, there is also 500 years of architectural history, which is astounding. This is a very short flight from Miami. This is a 45 to an hour flight from Miami. And once you land there, there is this sense of being elsewhere entirely. But the 500 years of architectural history is only one of the reasons why we chose to go to Havana in 2020. Of course, there is also this sense for many experts who fear that Havana is losing its soul, or could be losing its soul, or losing its sense of place as it tries to modernize and accommodate tourists and other visitors who are trying to enjoy the city. So, of course, this is in direct conflict sometimes with the goals that history preservationists are trying to achieve. So you'll see that tension there on those two fronts. Havana, the city, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and for absolutely great reasons. You've got, once again, 500 years of architectural history. The city is literally a time capsule for any architectural style you could think of. And it is a classroom without wall, which is one of the reasons why we chose the city, because you can just wander around, look up, look down, and see come to life in front of you countless case studies in history preservation, and you'll see attempts that have been successful, others not so much, and other attempts that have entirely failed or have not been undertaken in buildings that are crumbling. So you'll see the entire gambit. What you will also see there is extreme creativity. It's a very creative city, and you will see that as you stand there. Another reason why is the people, the experts that we once again selected for you. You will have unprecedented access to Cuban scholars who live, work, and practice in Havana. There are four of them, four local architects, and you will have their perspective from the Cuban perspective, which is different than us having brought with us somebody to take you around the city. So that's extremely important. And this was done in part because we were able to create a partnership with the Juan Marileno Cuban Institute for Cultural Research. So that local cultural research institute is enabling us access to those Cuban scholars. It's also the institute we partnered with to obtain your academic visas, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. One last reason, at least for us, the person you see on the screen is Manuel Leon Ponce. He's our founder. Manuel was born in Cuba and spent his childhood in Cuba before his family had to move to Miami. Manuel had fond memories of growing up in Havana, and he had dreams of one day conducting study tours in Havana, much like he had done many times in Paris and Florence and Venice. And unfortunately, Manuel passed away in 2001 of brain cancer, so he never got around to doing that. So it's a way for us to pay homage to his legacy. And also Havana, Cuba, and study tours are very much part of our story as a company, very much intertwined in our DNA and who we are. Last but not least, maybe, at least for those of you who are seeking continuing education credits, this tour is approved by both the AIA for 20 continuing education credits, 20 learning units, 20 health, safety, and welfare learning units. The same is true for the Interior Design Continuing Education Council, IDCEC, so that would be for ASID, IIDA members as well as interior designers who have a state-issued license or registration. Same number of credits, 20, health and safety. As well. So whether you're an architect or an interior designer, it doesn't matter where you're licensed. For the most part, you will receive 20 health, safety, and welfare credits. I do know that some states have specific requirements for specialty credits, like barrier-free or accessibility or advanced code or these type of things. If that's happens to be your case and you're interested in participating and you're particularly worried about those specialty credits that don't quite fall under the generic umbrella of health, safety, and welfare, and then again, that applies to only a handful of states, then reach out to me. I'll share my contact information later and let me know. But if you're an AIA member, ASID, IIDA, or licensed as an architect or interior designer, pretty much anywhere, you'll receive 20 health, safety, and welfare continuing education credits. Now, that being said, I know the credits might be important to some of you, but really the main point here, this is a masterclass in historic preservation with, once again, unprecedented access to local scholars. Talking about those colors, you see here, first you see me grinning because I'm so happy to be back in Havana. I believe that was on my second trip. But more importantly, you see 5 names. The first one I'll get back to in a minute, but the other other 4, I'm sorry, Dr. Loreda, Dr. Ray, Dr. Tuma, and Mr. Lorenzo. Those are the 4 local architects. One will be with you each day. They will spend the day with us. Those are the scholars who have extremely impressive resumes. Many of them have written the books, literally on history preservation or their particular area of expertise. They've done the research. They've published the research articles. They have given talks all over the world on those topics, and they do live in Havana. So once again, a wonderful resource for you. The person at the top and I will be with us the entire time. So she will be basically the main leader during the time we spend in Havana. She will also serve as a translator when there is a need for some of the keynote speakers to be translated. Some of them are not comfortable speaking in English, or they don't feel like the English is good enough to conduct a lecture. So sometimes you will step in and do the translation for them, live translation for them. I also speak Spanish. I won't be translating what the local experts have to share, and I will do that. But I also speak Spanish, so I can assist you if there is anything that you might need. And of course, you might speak Spanish as well, and you may not need our help. But just know that if you do, we will be there. I will be with you the entire time, from the time you arrive in Miami to the time you get back to Miami. That means you won't be on your own flying to Havana. I'll be with you. I'll be with you when we go through customs, and same thing on the way back. We chose to spend one night in Miami on the way out because there are logistical details that we need to make sure are in place before we all get there together as a group. It will really make that a much more seamless experience than if you were to fly and arrive one at a time. So this is your team. You will have an entire support system. Once again, me from Miami, staying with you in Havana mostly for logistical support, and back with you in Miami, then our 4 Cuban scholars, and then I, who will be our tour leader. Of course, we'll have a driver as well, and we will be staying in a very nice hotel, which is where I'm going to go next. So before I talk about the hotel, what I might have neglected to mention when we talked about the reasons why we're going to Havana in 2020, I mentioned many different things. One thing that is not on that list of the reasons why, it's definitely not an endorsement of the Cuban regime or communism. It's not, there is no political statement whatsoever. Once again, it has more to do with this masterclass in history preservation and paying homage to our founder and witness those 500 years of architectural history. Also wanted to say that there are guidelines in place that we have to work within and comply with in terms of who we do business with. And those guidelines have been put in place specifically so that the money that we spend doesn't go back in a way that would support the Cuban government. So that means that some vendors we simply cannot do business with, and that affects a lot of hotels in Havana. So there are very few luxury hotels in Havana. All of them are expensive, but there are very few of them. And then when you take out those that are on the list of, no go, basically, it left us with a handful of hotels. Once again, went several times. I've stayed in all those hotels. I spent time there, wanted to see how the experience is. And one night is all it takes to get a sense of that. And I chose this one. I chose this one for two reasons. Number one, the location. This is in Old Havana. You can walk out and explore the city on your own if you so choose. It's a luxury hotel. It's got all the accommodations you can expect. This is Havana, so the luxury expectations are a bit lower than they might be in the United States. But it's a great venue. It's a great hotel. It's got great reviews. You don't have to take my word for it. You can look it up. It's Hotel Parque Central. Of course, stunning views from the two rooftop terraces. And once again, you can walk out and explore Havana on your own if you so choose. On that note, Havana is a very safe city, and you can research that as well. I've walked the streets many times at night by myself. I've never had the sense of being in danger whatsoever, and this is pretty much what I read and what I experienced. So let me share a few more pictures about the hotel. So I'm going to show a little video, and then we're going to move on. So here's the hotel. Once again, love the location of this venue. So we're going to be going in April of 2020, 19th through the 25th. You can see here all the little flags, and this brings me to guidelines that we have to comply with. I mentioned earlier the cultural institutes that we've partnered with, and they will be handling our academic visas for you. You are required to have an academic visa to participate on this program. You're required to have a passport. I cannot stress that enough. You have to have a passport. Not only do you have to have a passport, but we need a copy of your passport by very early January. I repeat, very early January. So I know it's 3 months ahead of the trip, if not more, but that's the time it takes to get those academic visas secured. Those deadlines are set up not by me, they are set up by the administration. If you miss the deadline, you simply won't get a visa. If you don't get a visa, you can't get on the trip. So if you're interested in going, what I would suggest you do is, one, if you don't have a passport, apply for one. If you have a passport, find it, pull it out, look at the expiration date. It cannot expire before the end of October of 2020 at the very earliest. What I mean by that is your passport needs to be valid for at least 6 months beyond your return date. So the trip will end April 25th, means it needs to be valid through the end of October 2020 at the earliest. If it expires in late 2020 or 2021 or beyond, then you're good to go. So that's critical. Once again, we'll need that early January to secure your academic visa. We'll take care of that for you. And once again, I'll be with you the entire time. From the time you leave Miami and get back to Miami, I'll go through immigration with you, customs, and be with you on those flights, which we will as well secure and book for you. So let me show you where you can go to get a little bit more. So let me show you, where you can go to get a little bit more information. So it's designarts.org /Cuba-2020. And you will see here the itinerary. The day-by-day itinerary with the name of the scholar who will be with us on that day. You can remember that, and I will be with us as well, in addition to the scholar. And then you'll see the different packages here. So one thing I did not mention earlier is we also have eco apartments. So you've got the luxury hotel, which is what we looked at earlier. And if you want a more immersive experience, or simply want a more cost-effective experience, or you simply maybe you don't want to spend that much time in the hotel, or maybe you want to have more freedom, the eco apartments, they are more basic accommodations. They are not in Old Havana. They're in the Vedado district, which is not very far, but not in Old Havana. It's also a very walkable, very safe neighborhood. So this is an option for you if you're interested, and this is what that eco option is. And those apartments can be shared as well. So if you have an interest in those apartments, let me know. Otherwise, the main hotel and the meeting point for the group will be the Hotel Parque Central that we looked at earlier. And this is what those two options are. So if you go, let's say, on your own, you've got the single option. If you go with someone else, then that would be the option for you. Either way, doesn't matter which of those, whether it's the eco or the single or double. All the packages include your academic visa, your one-night stay in Miami, your flight from Miami to Havana and back, of course, all the transportation, tips, fees, taxes, everything you might possibly need. So essentially, the only thing you would need to plan for is any incidental or any souvenirs, anything you might want while you're in Havana. But if you're staying at the hotel, really all your meals are taken care of. So whether you're in a single room or double room, all your breakfasts will be at the hotel. Your lunches will be included as well. So we'll be out and about. So they will be in places we've curated for that very purpose. There will be also all the dinners will be included as well, and they will be also out and about. There will be there will be a welcome dinner, a farewell dinner, but know that all the dinners are included as well if you stay at the hotel. If you stay in the apartments, the only thing that is different is the breakfast will be on your own. You will be in your own apartment, and only the farewell and the welcome dinners are included. The other dinners are not. So that's the only difference between those three packages. Once again, passport is not included. You need to secure it. You need to get it to us before the deadline, which is early January, and you will need to get your flight from wherever you are to Miami, and then and of course back. So that's it. In order for you to sign up, there is a $495 deposit. That's the same across all packages. Is $495 deposit to save your seat, and then the balance is split across 4 payments. So if this is the double occupancy. So if you're one person in double occupancy, would be $495 deposit per person, and then 4 payments, the same thing for the 2 people, of $1,100 in January, February, March, and April. Then here you have the details for the single room. That's if you're on your own in the room. And for the eco apartments, same situation there. So $495 and then $800 4 times to accommodate the entire fee. Here you've got the dates we talked about. So take a look at this if you need a reminder. And if you want to save a seat, this is how you would do it. Quite simply, you just select the option you want and click on to continue. If you have questions, I mentioned earlier my contact information. This is my name, Isen. That's my cell phone number. Feel free to call, text, and this is my email. I try to cover as many of the common questions that I've been getting about this trip. So feel free to reach out. Let me know what it is I can help with. And definitely don't hesitate to ask any questions you might have. This will be a very small group. So we are keeping it on purpose to, it's going to be, 6 to 10, possibly 12 people maximum. So we're doing that on purpose. So if you do intend to travel with us, reach out to me, let me know, or save your seat. Let me know if you have any questions. And I hope I will see you in Havana. And on this note, I'll leave you with the sound of Havana.